How's it going, Starseekers? My name's GotCake, and in this review we're going to be taking a look at Serious Scramblers, an arcade vertical platformer game where instead of ascending you have to descend through randomly generated levels, avoiding dangerous hazards and enemies. This is in fact more of a challenge than it first seems, due to the fact that your character can't jump. Now the game is a port of an iOS game by developer Chinny Kian, minus the in-app purchases, but it really does feel at home on the Switch. So the main menu in the game is pretty minimal. We get to select our character from this menu, and to begin with we only have Nin Nin the ninja unlocked, but we can earn coins by playing the game, which allows us to unlock an additional 14 characters. The options menu features only language and audio settings for the game, so there's no way to adjust its difficulty. Now after selecting our character we're taken to the level select menu, and the main game features 27 levels. The first few of these are much easier and designed to teach us the basics of gameplay in Serious Scramblers. Controls in the game, which I might add are quite fluid, consist of moving left and right with either the left thumbstick or the D-pad, and to beat a level all we have to do is survive to the end of it and reach the end flag. Platforms move upwards and we need to use them to descend, and to encourage us to be hasty there's a spiked ceiling which will kill us if we touch it. Descending too fast and hitting the bottom of the screen, for example by falling off a platform, will also kill us. Now there are no checkpoints in levels, so dying means starting over from the top, and levels get progressively longer, so it can be a real pisser to get right to the end of a level only to fall at the last hurdle. So really the main aim of the game is to try and remain in the centre of the screen. This becomes even more tricky as the game slowly introduces additional hazards for us to contend with. The first of these are monsters, and the first type of monster we encounter are these red mushroom things which crawl back and forth across some platforms. Now we need to either bounce on the heads to kill them or just avoid them entirely, as if we land on a platform and they touch us we once again die. Whilst descending we're able to find some coins on platforms, but killing enemies will also reward us with a coin. One thing that I was a little disappointed to find though was the fact that killing multiple enemies in a row still only rewards 1 coin per enemy. I think that a combo multiplier would have been a good addition to the game, as it would encourage skillful play and make it a little easier to unlock all the characters, as the last few of them cost over 1,000 coins each to unlock. So in addition to the red mushrooms, later into the game we encounter green versions of them which move a little faster, and we also encounter flying mushrooms which we sometimes have to use as platforms, bouncing from one to another to avoid falling to the bottom of the screen. Now as well as enemies, there are also several platform hazards that add challenge to levels. The first of these are red platforms which we have to vacate quickly once we land on them, as a bunch of spikes pop out a second or so after we touch them. You often find several of these in a row and have to wait for a safe platform to appear before quickly descending past them. The second type of hazardous platform we encounter are ones featuring rotating fireballs, similar to the ones found in Mario games. These can rotate either clockwise or anti-clockwise, and this small detail really impacts on gameplay as you're forced to move in a certain direction to avoid the flames. This is where Serious Scramblers' second gameplay mechanic really comes in useful, and that is screen warping. Basically when you move past the edge of the play area you then reappear at the opposite side, and as levels become more difficult you have to utilise this mechanic a lot. So as you make your way through the game's first levels, you'll find that although they're randomly generated, in order to get you familiar with specific hazards and mechanics, some levels put a lot of emphasis on them. For example, this level features a large number of flying enemies to get used to jumping on the heads and using them as platforms, and this level features a lot of rotating fire platforms which force you into using screen wrapping. Now level 9 is where the game really picks up the pace in terms of difficulty, and the platforms begin to move more quickly, and by level 15 you'll be familiar with the majority of the game's mechanics, and levels become very challenging mainly due to the length and the unpredictability of the layouts. I found that the game really forces you to get used to thinking on your feet, and one strategy I used was to wait until the last moment before descending through a group of platforms, as this allowed me to sort of plan a route through its hazards, though there are still occasions when you've just got to wing it and think on the fly, and it's sometimes just down to luck whether the next platform that you land on ends your life or not. Now around level 13 you unlock Serious Scramblers Endless mode, which does away with the end flagging levels and just challenges you to descend as far as possible. However, whilst the game saves you high score in this mode, I was a little disappointed to find out that there were no online leaderboards, and I really think this is something that the developer should add in. In addition to standard levels, the game also features 2 boss levels, one of which is some sort of snake creature as seen in the eShop screenshots. However, due to me being absolute shite at platformers, I got stuck 2 levels before reaching the boss, and after about an hour of trying to beat the level, I eventually give up. Now in general, gameplay in arcade score chasers is specifically designed to be repetitive, so in order to bring a little variety to gameplay, each character you unlock in Serious Scramblers slightly modify level rule sets. The mummy, for example, has slower movement speed but more coins appear in levels, and the unicorn makes levels scroll faster, has a permanent speed boost which I believe occurs when you kill enemies, and also falls faster. Now while these minor changes may not seem like much, after playing with a certain character for a while you really get used to the movement and fall speeds, and upon changing characters you really do feel a difference in how they play. Another thing which helps alleviate repetitiveness is the randomly generated levels. However, I feel that this also presents an issue as it makes the game's difficulty a little inconsistent. Sometimes you have a relatively easy descent, and other times you'll encounter nightmare scenarios which are near impossible to get through alive. Now Serious Scramblers is a pretty challenging game, and this may put off more casual gamers or those like myself who have a sensitive rage trigger. One potential solution to this would be to add in difficulty settings, allowing players to either tailor the speed at which the screen scrolls and the frequency that hazards and enemies appear, or alternatively have multiple difficulties for each level, with easy mode maybe featuring the occasional checkpointing levels. My final suggestions for the game would be to include additional challenge levels, for example one where you have to survive for as long as possible whilst jumping on enemy heads, and my second suggestion would be to add tate mode to the game, as its play area, much like in vertical shmups, is ideal for playing in portrait orientation. Now before I rate the game, I'll say that I liked the game's graphics. They were simple but effective, and coupled with the game's 4 scan lines and vintage sound effects, they gave the game a real retro vibe, and the game's music wasn't bad, though it's not the best chiptune I've heard and it sometimes sounded a little inconsistent in its composition. So now we come to rating the game. Now I rate games between 1 and 5 stars, with the shovelware stamp of approval reserved for the worst games on the eShop. This rating is based on my own personal opinion on what a game has to offer in terms of gameplay and value for money to potential buyers. And for a rating I'd give Serious Scramblers 3 out of 5 stars. Despite its simplicity, gameplay is fun and addictive, though it becomes challenging very quickly, and the lack of any sort of difficulty settings may put some people off. There are also plenty of opportunities for the developer to add additional content and mechanics to the game to improve on its existing formula. Serious Scramblers releases on the Nintendo Switch on the 27th of August, and you can get it from the UK Switch eShop, currently with 10% pre-purchase discount, for £1.52. Or on the US eShop for $1.79. Alternatively, the game's also available on Steam. Hey Starseekers, hope you enjoyed this review, and if you did, hit that like button and let me know your thoughts in the comments section below. Don't forget to subscribe for future Switch indie content and reviews, and jump onto the Starseekers Discord to join its growing community. For now though, I just want to say thanks once again for watching, and until next time, game on.